everybody. We are back today with Brandy at Brandygirl Astrology. I said it right.
That's me.
We didn't have to do this like 30 times. Uh, we are back today to do Readers Behind the Scenes Part 2, or whatever this wants to be called. Last week we were talking about different things that aren't always talked about when, about people or within people that, give readings, whether that's tarot readings, astrology readings, mediumship readings, other sorts of metaphysical sorts of readings. It's not always talked about what goes on behind the scenes, the different sorts of things that go on. So we're going to have story time and maybe talk
Ah,
some things like boundaries, which is kind of what we were talking about last time and then had to go. Um,
that's right. We left off on boundaries.
yes, we left off on boundaries, which is something that is really important. In any kind, I mean, just in general, boundaries are important, right? Like, it with
Yeah.
any kind of work that you do, regardless if it's in this realm or elsewhere. Um, do you think that you had those right off the bat?
No, no. I was bad with boundaries. I've been doing this is my 11th year. Um, but at the beginning, no. I mean, I think that's how you learn boundaries is the experiences and like, oh shit, that went really bad. So next time, you know, what should I do to make this not go so bad? But no, I sucked at boundaries at the beginning. What about you?
No, I
I can see you like having boundaries, like because you're good with that, I feel like.
I can be. I certainly can be. But I also think I'm pretty friendly. And I think sometimes there can be, I think sometimes and I think there's also this thing when people see you not just reading what you write, but when they actually see you, like right now, whoever's watching this is seeing us. And it can make people, not everybody, right? There are some people that do not do this, but it can make people perhaps more comfortable with you. And I want to be careful I say that because it is important for people that come to me or come to you or whatever to feel comfortable. Obviously, I do not want anybody to feel uncomfortable. But I mean like comfortable in a way that perhaps starts off the bat where a boundary is crossed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had clients.
It's a hard line, right? Because like it's readings are very vulnerable.
Yes.
There's some vulnerable stuff that comes up. We are very friendly, and we genuinely care about our clients. And um but yeah, it's hard because sometimes that can be seen as more friendship, right? Or something like that. And it's you still have to keep that professional boundary with the reading. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, it really is. Now there have been, and I have certainly had clients that have become friends.
Yes, client fails.
Yeah,
I mean
they
that in a good, loving way, like where I have those too that they become very good friends.
yes, and that does happen. And there's not, I don't think there's anything wrong with that when that does happen, right? If there's just like a natural kind of clicking that happens, that is that, it just happens. But um, yeah, I have had several instances where off the bat, people, I like to think of it as kind of, honestly, it tends to be like a, trauma dumping.
Mm,
And I'm not laughing at the, obviously if you got trauma, there's something funny about that. But I guess I kind of laugh because it's happened so much to me where I'll get these emails from people or whatever, and it's, and I'm like, okay, what can I do for you? And yeah, yeah.
it's hard because yeah, and I've gotten some of those emails, and I do my work through sessions, right? And if I'm not in a session, um, I tell my mediumship students like, hey, when you're not doing the work, flip the switch off, put up the closing sign.
Yeah.
And so I do that to maintain my energy because if I'm open all the time and like always in that intuitive state, yeah, we're always in an intuitive state, but you know what I mean, like trying to really like read into something, you'll just be drained and exhausted. And so when these emails come in, I'm like, man, I'm not even in the space to really help. Like, and so it's hard because it's like, well, I can help, but I only help in sessions. And then you also don't want to be like, go buy a session. It feels it's hard.
It is hard because you want to, yeah. There is a large part of me that's very bleeding heart. There really
Hmm.
is, where I do genuinely want to help, but it's like sometimes, and okay, this is also kind of a sort of person that they also, like, I'll ask, I'll be like, hey, I'm not really sure what you want me to do, because I don't know them. I don't know them at this point,
Hmm.
like, would you like me to read for you? You want me to read, your chart or transits? Do you want me to pull cards for, do you want me to, are we, do you want to, you
You want
want
to
to,
work with me?
do you want to work with me? You want to hire me in
Yeah.
a professional capacity? Uh, no, that they don't necessarily
Yeah.
know right out. They just, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, what, it kind of puts me in a situation where like, hmm, okay.
That is hard. But if you think about it, like, and I think you do too, we run very professionally, right? And if you look at other professional services, let's say like counselors, psychiatrists, and I'm not saying I'm up there, I don't have the education. I have astrology education, but like I don't have their college education, right? But still, they're going to run their services professionally. And if people are emailing them, I mean, they're going to be the same way. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
book an appointment, right? Because you have to have those boundaries. And it wouldn't be fair if you helped everybody for free. It wouldn't be fair for you and your time. And it wouldn't be fair for the paying clients either. And
No, it really, no. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know if that's too like
Oh.
just blunt, but it's just kind of how I look at it, and
I ended up actually, a way that because this, for a while, this was, for me, this was a thing that was happening for a
mm.
while. And I was like, I don't even know what I can do about this. So then I put up a pen pal service on my website. It's kind of a joke.
How does
And
this work? I am curious to hear about this.
well, to be honest, it really has not been purchased much because I made it ridiculously expensive. And it's kind of to deter people. Really, it's kind of to deter this sort of behavior. Really, I don't
Yeah.
expect anybody to actually purchase it, but essentially what it is, it's a service where you can send me, I can't remember what it says on there, 3 or 5 emails, and I will respond 3 or 5 emails for $500. I'm sorry.
I don't think that's ridiculous because I am a big believer in energy exchange.
Well, yeah, no, it is. But I mean, I
You
guess
know? Yeah.
I could have made it more affordable, but it really is to deter, uh like yeah, just to deter stuff. And also to deter, like, what I call the Pluto men.
Pluto Men. Let's do it.
The Pluto men. There are, and I don't know if it's because there is a lot of I got a lot of stuff in Scorpio. I don't know. But I'm always,
There's a lot of Scorpios out there.
there are, these men though. These men don't often have stuff in Scorpio.
Okay.
They do sometimes. And this, mind you, the pen pal service has been a great deterrent for this. It actually has. So it actually has. Um, there are men that, and it's always men. I say men specifically because it always is, that want to talk about Pluto as if it's their dick.
Mm.
And I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Uh,
Yeah. They found out that Pluto can have something to do with the sex and sexuality. I'm more of a Mars person with that, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Mars. Yeah. But
Pluto.
yeah, I call them the I call them, I think of them as the Pluto men. And they're, mind you, like I said, this has been a great deterrent, and I haven't had an issue with
So,
any.
so give me an example. Is this like, hey,
This is
check out
like,
my Pluto? Like,
yes, yes. No, no, and when I say check out my, when you say it like that, this is literally check out Pluto in my chart, right? Like, I want to be clear: these people are not sending
no,
unsolicited,
they're legit talking about Pluto.
but they're talking about it as if it's
Like
their
it's a flex.
yes, yes, and how. Okay, and again, these people have never, I will say this, they never sent like unsolicited dick pictures or anything like that, but they talk about how big their Pluto is in their chart. And I'm like, why am I attracting this to my email? Like, why is this? Why?
I'm
So,
sorry, the part that's cracking me up is you like, why am I attracting this? And this is where we cut to Ellie's chart.
yeah, but it's like, but what's weird about this is it's almost like, it's almost, I'll say this also. It almost is like they kind of want to get into a dick measuring contest with me. There is
Mm.
something about it that kind of has felt that way, and I'm like why? like, I
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. It's strange.
that is. Well, I am glad the pen pal service
It has. It really has.
has helped with Pluto Men.
It, it really has, because it's, and like I said, this actually, it seems like as I started doing that, kinds of these people quit finding me. Like, I haven't run into a one of these Pluto men in quite a while. But it's like once I put that boundary in place on my
Yeah.
website, it was like I didn't they didn't find me.
That's good because they're going to email you about Pluto and they're like, oh, wait a minute, this costs $500.
No, yeah.
I don't know if I want to talk about it that much.
Maybe I'll go for it. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's
Interesting. That's very creative, Ellie. Pen pal service.
yeah. But that is it's like too long didn't read answer to. No, I did not always have apparently have good boundaries. No. No.
Yeah, and if you watch episode 1, I mean, I have that big long story about what happens when you don't have, or you do have boundaries, but you go against them, to help, like trying to be nice or trying to, yeah, no, boundaries are important. You got your rules, stick to them.
They yes, they are, yeah, they are important. Another one I recently found is like on my I started having some people that I don't know, it seemed like it was happening often for whatever reason, and they'd already paid for the session. Like, it's your time. If you don't show up, you don't show up, right? Or whatever, or you show up late. It's your time. You've paid. I'm not gonna, things come up, whatever. And I'm but it started happening very frequently, and people, it was like, oh, I just forgot. Now, there were some cases where it was like more like, okay, there was some screw up with the time zone, whatever. Okay, I'm like, okay, because I understand that sort of thing. But
A mishap. Yeah, sure.
it's like, oh, I just forgot, or oh, I was having dinner, and it just seemed like it was happening all the time. I'm like, okay, we got to put something on the fucking website that says, if you don't cancel within 24 hours, or try to reschedule, you and obviously,
Orphan.
I am, if it's some sort of emergency, obviously I'm not going to be a dick about that. But if it's just like, oh, I forgot, oh, I was at dinner, oh, blah, blah, blah. Okay. If you want to do this, you're going to need to pay and rebook this because, it's like but I didn't have anything like that on my website. I recently put that up on January 1st
Mm-hmm.
saying, laying these out, like this boundary out.
Are your clients pay up front?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they do up front. Yeah. Now I will say I do have clients that I've had for years that I'm more lenient with, but they're not who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
You know
No,
what
I had to years ago do the pay up front because if someone doesn't pay ahead of time, they don't feel like they're invested, right? And they can be like, but I've had for years where if you book an appointment, you pay in full.
I
And I am honestly like now 90% of my people, they are there on time. They're
yeah.
early. I love it. But I'm just like, yeah, the clients who just show up late. Like, and I've had like I can't even tell you the excuses. Like, I was on Facebook or I decided to go get something to eat.
You're like, hey, like,
Um, yeah, but I mean, not like telling you, just showing late, or I was on the phone. And then, they expect like they get 45 minutes. They expect that 45 minutes to start right when you get on the phone. I've had to change it where I'm like, no, 45 minutes starts at 1 o'clock. And if you
yes,
show up at 1:15,
you get 30.
damn, you just lost 15 minutes of your reading. Except for emergency. Yeah, of course. Like things happen. But that is like that shouldn't be happening very often, right? With people like
Yeah, but you bring up, I get here at 1:15. It's supposed to start at 1. I get here at 1:15, so I'm going to get my 45 minutes or whatever the time is. That was also something I had to put on the website because that was also seemed to be a thing that people were uh not quite clear about, and perhaps that's partially my fault. Perhaps I hadn't been clear enough about that too. Like
yeah.
what it is.
Because we're on schedules. Like, I don't know, I have a certain time I'm doing readings, and here's the thing, like I'm a business. I am like a one person business though.
Yeah.
So I got to show up to do the readings, which is my favorite part.
Yeah.
But, before that, sometimes I'm casting charts, I'm doing some background work, I'm doing my sales tax, I'm doing my bookkeeping, I'm doing my ordering of supplies, I am doing my marketing. Like
Yeah.
I'm on, you
Yeah.
probably are too, one person
Yeah.
show. And so it's like, I am not just sitting here
Yeah.
like all day. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
um, gotta have boundaries and always show up on time to your appointments.
Yeah. Or, if you can't, don't expect it to, you know,
Yeah. You gotta
run.
forfeit time if you show up late. That's just the rule. And unless something, now I give a minute or two because sometimes like logging into Zoom,
Yeah.
it can be an issue. Um, and usually you can tell because someone will come on and be like, oh my God, Zoom made me reload the app or something. You're like, okay, no problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it can be a fuckhead anyway. Sometimes you remember those times that seemed like it happened for a while there, a while back when I would send links and like you wouldn't get them.
I get them like the next day.
Yeah. Like Zoom was being a little motherfucker for a while there.
Yeah.
Like at
Yeah.
the end of 2023, it was being a little fuckhead. It kept,
I know. Yeah.
but yeah, boundaries, the boundary thing, it is important.
I mean, to run any business, you have to have boundaries, and this counts as well.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. I think sometimes, sometimes I feel like people might try to cross boundaries with people that do like what we do. And I might be wrong about this, and this doesn't even necessarily have to be a conscious thing, right? This could be totally unconscious. But it's because I think there are people that feel like we shouldn't charge for what we do.
I got so much to say about that. Like, yeah,
I do wonder, or
yeah,
I do wonder if that's because I mean, like, a therapist. Well, I don't know. I would imagine therapists have people that try to go over boundaries they have in place too. I would think that probably happens as well. So maybe that's a poor example. But yeah, go ahead. If you want to.
Oh, just the charging aspect. Like, this is a gift. You shouldn't charge for it. I want to ask these people how many times they pay people for their gifts. You go to a concert, you are paying someone for their gift. You buy a piece of art, you are paying someone for their gift. You go to the doctor,
Mhm.
you're paying someone for, they're gifted, right? Like, and here's what I tell people when they say that, like, look, um, I cannot charge for this, sure, but I'm gonna have to go get a full-time job somewhere. And if I am working, well, it's really 9 hours when you go work a full-time job because you have your lunch hour, you're usually not paid for it. And I have to pay an hour or drive an hour to commute, drive an hour to get home. Okay, there's 11 hours of my day. I'm gonna have no energy, no time to come home and do free readings.
Yeah.
So if I do charge for my service to be available to do the readings, because we live in the US, we live in capitalism. Yeah. We have to have money to have a roof over our head. We have to have money for heat, for food. Jagger eats fancy feast. Like it costs money to freaking live.
Yeah, it does.
And that's the other thing when they're like, well, why are you charging this much? Well, because let me tell you something. IRS is taking 24% right off of that. If you're in Texas, they're taking another 10% for sales tax. Zoom costs money. My internet costs money. My phone costs money.
Your office.
My office costs money.
Uh-huh.
My scheduler costs money.
Hmm.
To take your credit card payment costs money. So I know I almost sound like I have an attitude because it's like people don't understand. Like it's okay to charge for your gift. Musicians, athletes, artists do it all the time.
Yes. No, I agree. I agree with you about
I'm happy to pay them. Like, man, I love going to see Paul McCartney. I'll pay him.
that.
But he's made me so freaking happy. If he hadn't shared that gift, my life would be so different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that was my.
No, 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 that's
And
something.
this is like, close to my heart because I do mentorships for aspiring readers. And that is a hurdle a lot of people have to get over. Like, I want to do this, but I feel so guilty charging. And it's like, no, it's okay. If this is going to be your line of work, you have to take care of yourself. You have to support yourself.
Yeah. We live in a world where that is the way that it is, you know.
And when you pay for a reading, you're investing. You're showing, hey, I'm here, I'm in this too, and I value you. And there makes that energy exchange because I'm going to tell you, there's a difference between doing a free reading and a paid reading
Mhm.
as far as like the energy, how it's received.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I do a lot, as far as free stuff goes, I do a lot on Reddit. I always have. And I love doing it. I love being able to
Like discussions or like
answering
or
people's questions
hmm.
on the different some of the subreddits are like real douchey and I stay off of them. Some of the astrology ones, but there are some, including, you know, the one that I co-started. Um, yeah, I love answering people's stuff on there, but you can definitely tell there is definitely a different energy exchange. And I don't mean like just answering the question on the subreddit. I mean like when the people reach back
Hmm.
out. A lot of times they do. There is a difference in energy, and it's a hard thing for me, and it's not bad necessarily, but there is a difference. Um, the feeling is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just good to, yeah, I know that's a big one for me. That is, and that's I think that can be filed under boundaries.
Mhm. It can be. It absolutely can be.
Yeah. I'm grateful, that I get to do this work. And I can make a living doing it so that I'm available to help people. It's nice for everybody, I feel like.
It is nice for everybody. Deviating from that a little bit. Okay, how do you like strange? Like, sorry, that really wasn't a question. Like, strange experiences. I've had lots of strange experiences. Like a lot.
Let's start with yours. I know I have them.
Well, like strange, like one of the strangest, like strange requests. Let's put it like that. Strange requests.
Like synastry?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because I was
Like synastry in itself is not strange. I
no,
mean,
not at all. But this was like this was almost it really does feel weird to say 5 years. It was like 5 years ago at this point. And somebody reached out on Reddit, found me on Reddit. um and wanted me to well first they wanted me to look at their stuff. They were looking to hire. They made it very, very clear up front. And that let me also say this. If you find me on Reddit, my username is Little Miss Whoops. There are 3 S's in Miss, I believe. Yeah, I think so. I think that's how I have it spelled. Let me know, like, because if you say off the bat or pretty soon off the bat that you're looking to hire me, that's really helpful. Some people don't do that, and I'm like, then we got to have that awkward song and dance of like, well, are you looking to hire somebody? You know what? So yeah, just say that off the bat. Anyway, this person made it clear off the bat that they were looking to hire somebody to read their chart. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. Directed into my website. And they were like, oh, I see you do synastry too. I'm like, yeah, I do synastry. So then they sorry, it's not funny, but it was just and I've had a lot of strange requests, but this probably was one of the weirdest ones. They wanted me to do the synastry with them and a horror movie villain. I was really confused. I thought they meant the actor that played the horror movie villain. And they were like, no, the actual horror movie villain. I'm not going to say any more than give any
did
more
this
than that.
movie villain, did the movie state a birth time?
I don't believe
How do
so.
we have a chart? Okay.
I don't believe it. That's why I was really confused. I thought they meant like the actor, right? Um, but no, they meant the horror movie villain. And I
The
was
fictional character.
the fictional character that I do not know if they had a date of birth, time of birth, a place of birth. And I asked that, I was like, do they have like date of birth, time of birth, place of birth? And they were like, oh yeah. And they threw me this information and I'm like, did this person just make this shit up? And so I just straight out asked, I was like, are you fucking with me? Like, are you fucking with me? Because I was like, this is like, I was like,
Did
this
the
is,
chart make sense for this fictional character?
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know. I love horror movies. This particular horror movie, I have seen it, but I don't know it like the back of my hand, like I know A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Freddy Krueger. Yeah.
Like I know that, like, you know, so I don't, could I see how perhaps I do remember thinking this person could be villainous if they wanted to be in certain ways, but I don't know enough about that character aside from the actor,
Hmm.
but I asked, I was like, are you fucking with me? Because I thought maybe, I'm thinking what? And they were like, no, no, no. And then I realized, okay, this person they're not fucking with me. Okay. So I tell them, I'm like, are you sure you want to, because then I kind of change it to like, I realize you're not fucking with me. I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay. So it gets time to have the reading and everything. And I do it, I primarily try to focus on theirs, right? Their stuff because,
Yeah.
then it started getting towards the end. I'm like, I'm like, they're like, okay, let's look at the synastry. I'm like, are you, I was like, we can keep talking about you. Because I'm thinking, what would be of the most benefit to this person? I don't know. They really wanted
Yeah.
me to do it. So
You want to make sure they get value.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's something they really want to do, okay. But there is a part, I do remember there being a part of me thinking, I don't like later on being like, I don't know if I should have even entertained that part of it.
Mm.
Like I should have just been like, no, I'll do yours. But the request, was so, and I'm going to say weird, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but it was just very different than anything I had really gotten up until that point. now that I've done like started doing like the galactic center stuff, that started in like 2021. Okay, so I've gotten a bunch of really interesting, cool requests since then, right? And I appreciate them. So, but this particular one was just it was one of the first really weird
Mm,
weird things I got, and in retrospect, I have wondered if maybe I don't know. I mean, it was clearly something they wanted me to do,
right.
but there is a part of me that even now wonders if, like, would I entertain that today? Mm, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's kind of a boundary thing too, maybe. Like
It might
maybe
it might be because like now and I also want to say this. People have had me do like synastry because they're just curious with actors or actresses. Okay. I mean, you don't know them. They know they don't know them, They're just curious. They're just wanting to have fun. Okay.
I don't think that's too crazy because then
I
you're
don't
like, maybe it explains why you
Yes,
resonate with them or why you like them so much. Or,
exactly. I feel like
yeah.
that could actually be of some benefit. And the person is very clear that obviously they're not dating them. It's just they're just wanting to figure out maybe why they like them like they do or whatever. Okay, that's one thing. But the fictional
The fictional aspect.
the completely fictional character aspect, I don't know if I would entertain that again. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure I would. I don't know if I don't know. I feel like, and there's a part of me, that the Capricorn moon in me is like, you want to, and it's not really my business how somebody wants to spend their money, but there is a part of me that's like, that feels like that isn't, and it's not my judgment to make, but is like, I don't know if this is the wisest way to spend your money, you know? There is, but there is a part of me, but it's not my judgment to make, really. Like it's not. But I like to, I don't know, I don't want people to waste their money on stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
I could
know.
see it. Yeah. Because you don't, yeah, you want to just, well, yeah, you want to, want to always make sure you're giving someone value.
That's
And it sounds like for them, that was meaningful. Like there was something
I
special
guess
about
I
it.
think it was because they were not fucking with me. They were serious about it. I don't know where the fucking date of birth, time of birth, place of birth came from. The synastry, as goofy as this might sound, actually was okay. Um, you know,
There were connections.
so I'm like, and they really seemed to enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
And now I have, actually interesting, that year. I actually haven't gotten requests like this in quite a while. I've gotten a lot of different kinds of requests, but not so much this. There were some other examples in 2020 of people having me do stuff with other fictional characters. Um yeah.
I'm not laughing. I'm just laughing at yeah, yeah, okay. You
So
mean not Sinistry, like
no, nah. One of them did want that included. The other one just wanted to know about this character. Again, this was 5 years ago. If these requests were to come in now, I'm not sure I would. I might try to steer it another way.
hmm
Yeah, I might.
yeah. I've had like I don't think it falls under strange. I am selective of who I will do Sinistry for just because I know it's a lot of work. Sinistry is a pretty big project. Takes for me anyway, some background work. I'm not going to just show up on a call and be like, "All right, let's put your charts together, see what I see." I try to really dig into it. Um, I have had someone want Sinistry, like, okay, so they were a client. They had been getting readings with me, and I do tarot, mediumship, and astrology. I mix it all together. But um, they were asking about a coworker that they were very attracted to, and hey, is this going to evolve into something? Every time I got a no, like it's come to find out. the coworker was married. So I wasn't quite sure, anyway, they asked for a synastry. That I felt a little like I wasn't, I'm like, is that wrong? And I was like, I don't think it is. Maybe they're wanting to understand why they're so attracted or like what's going on. That can be very helpful, right? Um, so I did that. And I could see where there was attraction, and then that was it. Like nothing to really kind of have the um I don't know, something to carry it forward, I guess. Yeah. It was more kind of sexual. Sometimes you just kind of see that. But it did seem like a little obsessive. Like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this.
What
Like, it's just kind of like,
what am I did it make you kind of wonder like
because
what am
this
I
other person was not, it was not reciprocated. This person was attracted to coworker. Coworker didn't seem to, yeah. So I felt kind of like, yeah, it's a lot of money. Like, I charge a lot to do synastry, because it's a lot of work. And it's like, and readings have been saying, hey, this isn't going to evolve. That's tough.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's not necessarily strange. And let me say, I have no judgment about someone being married and some, people come to me all the time, in relationships that look very unconventional or different. I don't have any judgment about that. My thing was the other person just wasn't interested. And I felt bad that this person was spending a lot of time, a lot of money, really just hoping something would say, yeah, it's going to work. It's going to happen. And that just didn't feel like that's what really that's for, I guess.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Now I did do a synastry, kind of give an example of like what it's good for. I did one for Vera Ramon King, who was married to Dee Dee Ramone from the Ramones, and he's been passed away for what years? I don't know, 23 years almost. But anyway, she wanted it because they had been married a long time, had quite the relationship. But she was like, well, I just am curious, like how our astrology worked together, if that explains what we went through and all that. And it was very beautiful. Like, I felt like that was cool. But it was interesting because it was with an ex-husband who had passed away. But that was neat.
Using it for that kind of a thing. Whoa, damn. Like this blowing around out here. Uh using it can be very illuminating in that kind of a way.
Mhm.
I have definitely had people come to me for that, wanting to kind of specifically, in this is my ex, either my ex-wife, ex-husband, or just ex-partner, and kind of seeing not so much will we get back together, but or anything like that, but just like kind of what maybe made the difficult things difficult that they couldn't get
Get through.
for
Yeah.
whatever reason. Mhm. And
Yeah.
and I find that these, like, it sounds like it was for her, there's a lot of value in that. And
Yeah.
standing in that. And
Just
almost,
wanted that understanding. Yeah.
yeah, and coming in like there being a peace about it. Like, okay, this is why.
Yeah, they're very interesting. They very much loved each other. They just had challenges that just after like 17 years, like just
It,
couldn't seem to get there. But yeah, very much a deep love. It was an interesting one. And that's common too. You see that for people all the time. Like, people do love each other. It's just
yeah, absolutely. It just doesn't.
mystery get that answer. Yeah.
Sometimes love is just not enough.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there's yeah. So kind of on that same, not same subject, but same kind of feeling. And funny, you and I were talking about off camera about us being a little bit more dry, perhaps, with our feelings about.
Yeah, like yeah, I'm just, I have no water in my chart, like as far as planets, like I'm not the most emotional type. It doesn't mean I don't feel emotions and I don't have sympathy or empathy, but it's yeah, we're kind of on the drier side of things.
Let me ask you this. Are there any clients that you've had that have really impacted you in an emotional way? This doesn't necessarily mean you had any kind of friendship with them, but like something about them or their story or whatever deeply impacted you in a feeling, emotional kind of way, even if they don't
Oh
know.
gosh. Yes. And that's one thing that's wonderful about doing this work. Like I have that Gemini moon, I have the air moon, but feeling and blending in with the energy, it will allow me to feel emotion like on such a deep, intense level. And um I know this is gonna sound cheesy and cliche, but I mean it. Like everybody I meet with, there's something that I can just take away that's I feel is inspirational, except for maybe nightmare client that I talked about last time. But but no, there are, I mean, doing this work, God, you see real resilience out there. You see people going through things and you're like, holy shit, like this person's resilient. This person has strength. And um so yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm inspired by a lot of clients and a lot of people, what they're going through, what they do, what they achieve, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
Makes my life feel a little boring. No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's a good one. Like I'm trying to think of like I mean, I just feel like every session I'm on, I'm like, wow, I get wowed by, what people do, what they get through. But um let me think on that for a second. What about you?
Oh yeah. There definitely have been people whose stories um absolutely have. And it's I can think of one specifically. It was so hard for because I do stuff through reports.
Mm,
I also see people face to face, but I do reports. And this I'm so glad that this client had me doing it in a report. I don't think I could have held it together
mm,
in a call.
yeah.
Yeah, it takes me about a week to do. I give myself about a week to do reports. They're done from scratch and everything. And I remember feeling like it was so important what I was doing for them. But I remember thinking, oh my God, this is so painful for me to do. Like, I could just like, it's like the pain was like radiating off of the charts. And I was just like, holy shit. If I had to do this in a face to face, I don't know if I could have kept it together.
Yeah.
Um, um, yeah, this one particular, I mean, there have been a couple others, but this one really, even now, so many years later, definitely they but what's as hard and I mean, I'm thinking to myself, it's hard for me to do it, but this was their life, and it's like, so fuck how hard it is for you to do this, Ellie. They're the ones living through this. you
Mhm.
know. Uh
Yeah.
they later on, after they had read it, and they're long, so it takes people a while to really read them. I mean, I got a lovely email back that this actually did really, really help them. And it gave them peace with something that they desperately needed peace on to move forward. And it really, as I remember, I didn't tell, it wasn't like I told them what they wanted to hear, but it just, it's what they needed to hear. And I remember thinking, okay, so, okay. Like, I remember feeling like, okay, so this helps them. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's always my hope going into a session that my client will get exactly what they need. Um, yeah, I mean the ones that come to mind for me, a lot of the mediumship readings, like so many stories, like, the loss people have experienced, during COVID. I read for people who lost their whole family in a week. Like, yeah, those are hard to keep together. A mom whose 10-year-old was killed by gun violence. I mean,
That's awful.
I will sit there and cry in those readings. I keep tissues right here, like for me, because I'm like, and sometimes you just, and those moments and that mediumship, man, you can feel the emotion.
I bet you can. Like in that sort of, I mean, yeah, I would imagine because yeah, they're quite literally coming to you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, even in like astrology and tarot too, like these things come up too. And um, yeah, I'm just, yeah. I'm glad like, and I'm not, I don't want this to sound the way it sounds, but just that there are readers out there and that people can go to them and have that space
Yeah.
to just talk about such deeply personal things and get some such good insight. Like astrology is just one of the most wonderful tools for insight and um to kind of understand, how your life's set up and how what challenges you have, how you get through them, how you mitigate them, what your purpose is. And yes, I don't know, I'm rambling.
Well, I know that you had mentioned that I've been watching the time, that you have something that you have to do. So we should probably head off. But do you want to share where you can be found?
Thank you. BrandyBurrowAstrology.com and Brandy Burrow Astrology on Instagram and Facebook. And Ellie, Saturn season astrology.
Find me at SaturnSeason.com, Saturn Season at Saturn Season Astrology on Instagram, and at Saturn Season Astrology here on YouTube. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me and letting me ramble with my thoughts. And it's an interesting discussion.
Yes, it is. It is. We should have more like this.
We should.
There are lots of stories again without breaching any actual confidentiality, but lots of stories.
Yeah, yeah. We'll do it again sometime.
Do it again. And so we're gonna head off. But to everyone, we'll see you all later.